Debt collectors corner a pregnant widow at the train station, fists flying as she shields her unborn child from their brutal assault. Sheriff Jack Holloway witnesses the attack and intervenes, but saving Sarah McKenna means defying the law he swore to uphold. She carries secrets that could destroy powerful men, and the evidence she protects is worth killing for. Jack faces an impossible choice between his badge and his conscience, while Sarah must trust the lawman with truth that could save thousands of innocent lives. In a territory where justice and law rarely align, Jack Holloway will discover that some battles can only be won by breaking every rule he once believed in. Sheriff Jack Holloway stood in his kitchen at dawn. Blood stained his knuckles. The pregnant woman beside him wrapped clean cloth around his wounds with hands that knew their work. Sarah McKenna. That was what the men had called her. 3 horses disappeared into the desert beyond his window. Dust clouds marked their retreat like smoke from dying fires. The riders would return. Men like that always did. Sarah's wedding ring caught the morning light as she tended his injuries. Too loose on her finger. Too careful in her touch. "They'll be back," she whispered. Jack studied her face. Bruises painted her cheek purple. Her belly stretched her worn dress tight. "I know." The train whistle echoed across the valley. Same sound that had brought her to Bitter Creek 3 days earlier. Same sound that had started everything. 3 days. Might as well have been 3 years. The afternoon heat shimmered off the rails when Sarah stepped from the eastbound train. 8 months pregnant and carrying a carpet bag that had seen better decades. Her dress spoke of cities and education. Her eyes spoke of running. Carter emerged from behind the water tower first. Bull followed. 2 men built like barn doors and twice as mean. "Mrs. McKenna." Carter's voice carried across the platform like a funeral bell. "Your husband's debts don't die with him." Sarah clutched her bag tighter. Her free hand moved to protect her belly. "I don't know what you're talking about." Bull stepped closer. $3,000, plus interest. The passengers scattered. Cowards always did when trouble showed its teeth. Sarah backed toward the station wall. Nowhere left to run. Carter grabbed her arm. "You can come easy or hard. Makes no difference to us." The first blow caught her shoulder. Sarah crumpled, wrapping herself around her unborn child like armor made of bone and flesh. Bull's boot found her ribs. Carter's fist sought her face. Jack Holloway pushed through the saloon doors and saw it all. The sheriff of Bitter Creek had buried his own wife 2 winters past. Watched her die slow while he stood helpless. Swore he'd never watch another woman suffer if he could prevent it. His Colt-cleared leather smooth as silk. "Step away." Carter looked up from his work. Blood spotted his knuckles. "This ain't your business, Sheriff." "Everything in my town is my business." Bull straightened. "Bigger than Jack by half a foot and 40 pounds. She owes money. Legal debt. Legal don't include beating pregnant women." Sarah whimpered on the platform, dust mixed with tears on her cheeks. Her hands never left her belly. Carter smiled. Showed teeth like broken fence posts. "You going to shoot us over some stranger's debts?" Jack's finger found the trigger. "Try me." The moment stretched thin as wire. Carter weighed his odds. Bull shifted his weight. Sarah watched them all through, swollen eyes. "This ain't over," Carter said finally. "We'll be back with papers, legal papers." "You do that." The 2 men mounted horses tied behind the depot. Carter tipped his hat like a gentleman. Bull spat in the dust. 3 days, Sheriff. We'll be back in 3 days." They rode east toward the territorial line. Jack holstered his weapon and knelt beside Sarah. "Can you stand?" She nodded. Tried to rise. Failed. Jack helped her to her feet. Her carpet bag lay scattered, contents spilled across the platform. He gathered her belongings. Not much to show for a life lived. "Where were you headed?" "West." Her voice cracked like dry timber. "Anywhere west?" "Got family waiting?" Sarah shook her head. Blood trickled from her split lip. Jack made his choice, same choice that had made him sheriff. Same choice that had cost him everything before. Come on, let's get you cleaned up. His house sat on the edge of town where the desert began. Small, but solid. Built for two people who never came. Sarah settled into the kitchen chair like she might break it, or it might break her. You don't have to do this, she said. Jack pumped water into a basin. Don't have to do most things worth doing. He cleaned her wounds gentle as rain on stone. Her face bore the worst of it. Bruises would heal. The fear, in her eyes, might not. What's your real name? Sarah hesitated. Sarah McKenna. The men knew you. Came looking specific. My husband died 3 months ago. Left debts. $3,000 is considerable debt for a doctor. Her eyes sharpened. I never said he was a doctor. Jack wrung blood from the cloth. The way you direct me cleaning wounds, medical knowledge, either you married a doctor or you are one. Sarah said nothing. Her secret sat between them like stones in still water. Train ticket in your bag says Mary Sullivan. I bought it under another name. Why? Sarah's hand moved to her belly. Life stirred there, a future worth protecting. Because some debts can't be paid, and some men won't stop collecting until they're dead. Jack studied her face, saw truth hiding behind careful words, saw fear wearing courage like an ill-fitting coat. Night fell across Bitter Creek like a curtain drawn. Sarah slept in the spare room. Jack sat in his kitchen, cleaning his revolver by lamplight. The desert whispered secrets through the walls. 3 days until Carter returned. 3 days, to decide if saving one woman was worth risking everything he'd sworn to protect. Sarah's voice drifted from the bedroom. Fevered words about water and children dying, about evidence and railroad barons, about truth buried in unmarked graves. Jack holstered his clean weapon. Whatever debts Sarah McKenna carried, they reached deeper than money. And whatever was coming for her would have to come through him first. The wind picked up outside. It tasted of dust and distant storms. Morning found Sarah in Jack's kitchen, reading his late wife's medical texts. Latin words rolled off her tongue like water from stone. She traced diagrams of human anatomy with fingers that knew their purpose. Jack watched from the doorway. His wife had struggled with those same pages. Sarah read them like scripture. You're educated. Sarah closed the book. Some. More than some. Those texts defeated every doctor in 3 counties. She stood, smoothing, her dress over her swollen belly. My husband taught me things. What kind of doctor was he? Sarah moved to the window. Bitter Creek stretched below like a scar across the desert. The kind that asked too many questions. Jack poured coffee. Steam rose between them like incense. Questions about what? Water. Children dying. Towns where the wells ran poison. Her voice carried weight beyond words. Jack set down his cup. The coffee tasted bitter as truth. Railroad towns? Sarah's hands stilled on the windowsill. How did you know? Seen it before. Company builds through, leaves contamination behind. Local authorities look the other way for the right price. She turned. Her eyes held depths he hadn't noticed before. Fear and something else. Purpose. Edwin documented everything. Water samples, death certificates, medical records, 3 towns, 147 deaths. Where are the documents? Now? Sarah's hand moved to her belly, protective, instinctive, safe. Hoofbeats echoed up the main street. 5 riders this time. Carter and Bull in the lead. 3 new faces behind them. Harder faces. Professional faces. Jack reached for his gun belt. Stay inside. They're not just debt collectors. Jack paused. What are they? Railway security, the kind that solve problems permanently. The riders stopped outside the bank. Cornelius Wright emerged like a spider from his web. Thin man in an expensive suit, hands soft as a baby's backside. Wright pointed toward Jack's house. Carter nodded. Money changed hands. Rights bought, Jack said. Or threatened, same result. Jack strapped on his holsters. The weight felt familiar, comforting. How much does Wright know? Enough to be dangerous, not enough to be useful. The riders approached. Boot heels rang on the wooden porch like a death march. Carter knocked, polite as poison. Sheriff Holloway, need to speak with you. Jack opened the door, kept Sarah behind him. Speak. The woman owes money, legal debt. So you said yesterday. Bull stepped forward. Today we got papers. Carter produced a document, official seals, fancy letterhead. Court order from Denver, $3,000 plus interest and fees. Total comes to $4,700. Jack examined the papers. Real enough, legal enough. Payment terms? Immediate, or we take collateral. Jack's eyes found Sarah. She stood straight despite her swollen belly, despite the fear. What collateral? Carter smiled. Whatever's available. The words hung in the air like smoke from a funeral pyre. Jack folded the papers, handed them back. Give us an hour. Half hour. Hour. Carter considered. Bull shifted weight from foot to foot. The three new men remained silent as tombstones. 1 hour, then we collect. The riders withdrew to the saloon. Jack closed the door. Sarah sank into a chair. Her hands trembled like autumn leaves. I can't pay. I figured. They'll take me back. Kill me quiet somewhere between here and Denver. Jack knelt beside her chair. Not while I'm breathing. You don't understand. These aren't ordinary men. They work for Marcus Doyle, railroad baron, owns half the territorial government. What makes you so dangerous to him? Sarah met his eyes. Truth passed between them like lightning between clouds. Edwin found proof. Chemical contamination from railroad construction. Doyle knew. Let it happen. Cheaper than proper disposal. The children who died. Poisoned water, slow death. Families never knew what killed their babies. Jack understood. Men like Doyle didn't leave witnesses, especially witnesses with evidence. Where's the proof? Sarah's hand moved to her belly again. Same protective gesture. Same maternal instinct. Then Jack saw it. The slight bulge. The way she favored one side. The evidence wasn't in a safe deposit box or buried cash. She carried it with her, hidden where no one would look. How? Sewn into the dress lining. Waterproofed. Compact. Smart. Edwin's idea. Said if they came for him, I should run. Take the evidence west. Find honest law. Jack's throat tightened. Did you find it? Sarah studied his face. Weathered features. Honest eyes. Hands scarred from years of keeping. Peace. Maybe. Outside, the saloon doors creaked. Boot heels approached. Time ran like water through broken fingers. Jack stood, checked his weapons. 6 shots in each Colt, 12 chances to do right. When they come back, stay behind me. Jack. He turned. She'd used his name for the first time. It sounded different in her voice, softer, like a prayer. They'll kill you too. Maybe. Sarah rose from the chair, moved to him. Her hand found his arm, touched gentle as morning rain. Why? Jack looked out the window. Bitter Creek baked under the desert sun. His town, his responsibility, his chance to matter. Some things are worth dying for, and some things are worth living for. Their eyes met, held. Understanding passed between them deeper than words, trust earned in blood and kindness. The church bell tolled the hour. Footsteps approached the porch. Carter's voice carried through the door. Time's up, Sheriff. Jack's hand found the door handle. Sarah stepped beside him. No longer hiding, no longer running. Together? She nodded. Together. The door opened. 5 men waited. Hands near. Weapons. Eyes cold as winter stone. Carter smiled. Where's our money? Jack stepped onto the porch. Sarah followed, her chin lifted, defiant. Don't have it. Then we'll take what we came for. The desert wind picked up. It carried dust and distant thunder. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon like an army of the righteous. Sarah's wedding ring caught the light. Too loose, too careful. Too many secrets wrapped around one finger. You can try. The confrontation lasted 3 minutes. Carter drew first. Jack drew faster. Bull reached for iron and found only empty air before Jack's second shot dropped him. The 3 professionals scattered like tumbleweeds before a storm. Dust settled. Blood soaked into thirsty earth. Carter writhed in the dirt, clutching his shoulder. Bull lay still. Sarah stood untouched behind Jack, her hands steady, her eyes dry. You killed him. Jack holstered his smoking Colts. He's breathing. The other one. Bull's chest rose and fell. Shallow but persistent. Both breathing. Won't be riding for a while. The town watched from doorways and windows. Cowards emerging after the thunder passed. Wright stood outside his bank, face pale as winter moonlight. Get the doctor, Jack called. No one moved. Sarah stepped forward. I'll tend them. She knelt beside Bull, checked his pulse, examined the wound. Hands moved with practiced certainty. Clean through the shoulder, missed the artery. Jack watched her work. Medical knowledge beyond what any farmer's wife should possess, beyond what most doctors possessed. You're not Sarah McKenna. Her hands stilled on the bandage. What? Real. Question is who you are. Sarah sat back on her heels. Bull's breathing steadied under her care. Professional care. Does it matter? Starting to think it's the only thing that matters. The storm clouds moved closer. Thunder rolled across the desert like wagon wheels over stone. Sarah helped Carter sit against the porch post. His shoulder bled through her makeshift bandage. Name's Carter, he gasped. Work for Doyle Industries, railroad security. Figured that much. Woman's worth $10,000. Dead or alive. Jack's jaw tightened. For what? Stealing company property, industrial espionage. Sarah finished tying the bandage. Her face showed nothing, gave nothing. What property? Carter coughed. Blood flecked his lips. Documents, medical records, lies about company operations. Truth usually sounds like lies to guilty men. Sarah stood, wiped her hands clean on her apron. The gesture held finality. His name was Edwin McKenna. He was a good doctor, a good man. Was? Railroad men killed him 6 months ago. Made it look like robbery. Jack felt pieces falling into place. The loose wedding ring, the medical knowledge, the fear that ran deeper than debt. You took his identity. Took his widow's identity. Elizabeth McKenna died in childbirth 8 months ago. I was her nurse. The truth hung between them like smoke from a dying fire. Sarah continued, voice steady as stone. My real name is Elizabeth Crane. I was Edwin's research assistant. Helped him document the water contamination. Saw them murder him when he refused to destroy the evidence. The baby? Sarah's hand moved to her belly. Protective. Maternal. One of Doyle's men. Thought he was teaching Edwin a lesson about keeping quiet. Jack understood. The weight she carried. The reasons for running. The secrets worth dying for. You've been running ever since. Until now. Carter tried to stand. Failed. Slumped against the post like a broken scarecrow. Doyle's got 100 men. You killed 2, won't matter. He'll send more. How many more? However many it takes. The first raindrops fell. Fat and heavy. They struck the dust like bullets, releasing the smell of earth and promise. Jack helped. Sarah inside. Her pregnancy made movement difficult, each step measured, careful. You can't stay here. Can't keep running either. Baby's due soon. Then we make a stand. Sarah sat heavily in the kitchen chair. Her breathing labored. The day's stress took its toll. You don't understand. Doyle owns judges, governors. Railroad brings prosperity. People don't ask questions about the cost. What's in those documents? Chemical analysis, water samples, death certificates, medical records from 3 towns. Proof that Doyle's construction crews dumped industrial waste into groundwater. How many died? 147 confirmed. Mostly children. Families never knew what killed them. Jack poured whiskey, offered Sarah the glass. She declined. What do you need to make it public? Honest journalist, federal marshal, someone Doyle can't buy or threaten. Thunder crashed overhead. Rain began in earnest. The desert drank greedily. Telegraph lines run through Doyle's company. I know. Rights compromised. I know. Town councils probably bought. Sarah nodded. Probably. They sat in silence. Rain drummed the roof like fingers on a coffin lid. Lightning illuminated the windows in stark, momentary clarity. There's another. Wait, Sarah looked up. Hope flickered in her eyes like candlelight. Federal marshals patrol the territory. Circuit judge comes through monthly, if we can hold out until one arrives. Doyle won't wait. He'll send an army. Then we'd better be ready. Jack rose. Checked. His weapons. Counted ammunition. Not enough for an army. Enough for a fight. Why are you helping me? The question carried weight beyond its words. Jack considered. Outside, lightning split the sky. Lost my wife to things I couldn't control. Sickness, time, helplessness. I'm not your wife. No, but you're here. Now. And I can do something about it. Sarah stood, moved to him. Her hand found his arm. Touch gentle as rainfall. This isn't your fight. It is now. Their eyes met, held. Understanding passed between them like electricity through storm clouds. The evidence is sewn into my dress. Waterproofed packets. If something happens to me. Nothing's going to happen to you. If it does, promise me you'll get the documents to honest law. Jack studied her face. Bruised but determined. Pregnant but unbroken. A woman who'd lost everything and still chose to fight. Promise me you won't give up. Sarah smiled. First genuine smile he'd seen. It transformed her face. Revealed the woman beneath the fear. Deal. Rain fell harder. The desert began its transformation. Dust became mud. Arroyos filled with rushing water. The land prepared for renewal. Inside the small house, 2 broken people found something worth protecting. Not just evidence or justice or truth. Each other. Outside, Wright hurried through the rain toward the telegraph office. His message would reach Denver by morning. Doyle's response would follow soon after. The storm passed. Desert silence returned. But something had changed in the quality of that silence. It no longer felt like an ending. It felt like a beginning. Dawn came like judgment. 3 riders approached from the east, silhouetted against the rising sun. Not Doyle's men, federal marshals. Their badges caught the early light like stars fallen to earth. Jack stood on his porch, coffee steaming in his hands. Sarah beside him, heavy with child and heavier with hope. The lead marshal dismounted. Gray-haired man with eyes like winter steel. His voice carried authority earned through years of hard decisions. Sheriff Holloway, I'm Marshal Hayes, got your wire. Jack hadn't sent any wire. His eyes found Wright's bank across the street. The banker stood in his doorway, face pale as fresh cotton. Must be some mistake. Hayes produced a telegram. Official paper. Federal letterhead. Says here you got evidence of federal crimes. Water contamination, mass poisoning. Sarah stepped forward. Her hand moved to the document sewn into her dress. 6 months of running. 6 months of carrying death certificates and chemical analyses next to her unborn child. The evidence is here. Hayes studied her face, saw truth written in the lines around her eyes, the weight of witness testimony. You Elizabeth Crane? I am. Been looking for you. Washington's very interested in your story. Wright disappeared into his bank. Glass shattered. The sound of a man destroying evidence echoed across the street. Hayes nodded to his deputies. They moved toward the bank with practiced efficiency. One covered the back door, the other the front. Mr. Wright, Hayes called. Need to have a conversation. More glass broke. Papers rustled. Wright emerged through the rear door, arms full of documents. The deputy waited for him like death at a crossroads. Going somewhere? Wright dropped the papers. They scattered in the morning breeze like guilty confessions seeking absolution. Sarah began unlacing her dress. Her fingers worked with careful precision, revealing the waterproofed packets sewn into the fabric. Evidence that had traveled 1,000 miles pressed against her heart. Hayes examined the documents. Water analysis, death certificates, medical records, the careful handwriting of a doctor who died for asking questions. This is it. This is what we needed. Edwin McKenna documented everything, Sarah said. 3 towns, 147 deaths. Dr. McKenna's testimony reached us 2 days before his murder. Said he was sending proof with someone he trusted. Jack watched Sarah's face transform. Relief flooded her features like sunrise after endless night. He got word to you. Last thing he did. Told us to watch for Elizabeth Crane. Said she carried the truth. Wright tried to run, made it 3 steps before the deputy's hand found his shoulder. Federal custody felt different than territorial law. Heavier, more permanent. Marcus Doyle's finished, Hayes said. These documents will shut down his operations. Save lives. Sarah sank into the porch chair. The weight of 6 months lifted from her shoulders. The burden of justice carried alone finally shared. What happens now? You testify before a federal grand jury. Doyle stands trial. Justice gets served. Jack poured coffee for the marshals. The ritual of hospitality in a hard land. Men sharing warmth against the desert's indifference. She's due soon, Jack said. Hayes nodded. We'll wait. Baby comes first. Justice can be patient when it's real justice. The next weeks passed like water finding its level. Sarah's belly grew rounder. Jack's garden grew greener. The evidence traveled to Denver in federal hands. News arrived by telegraph. Doyle arrested. His company dissolved. Contaminated sites ordered cleaned. Families compensated for their losses. Wright disappeared into federal prison. His bank closed. The building stood empty, windows boarded like closed eyes. Sarah went into labor on a Tuesday morning. Jack paced the kitchen while the midwife worked. Hours passed like years. Then a cry split the silence. New life. Clean lungs. Strong voice protesting the world's harsh welcome. It's a girl, the midwife announced. Sarah held her daughter against her chest. The baby's eyes opened. Dark as her mother's. Bright as tomorrow's promises. What will you name her? Sarah looked at Jack. He'd delivered justice and safety, given her a home when she had nothing but secrets and fear. Hope. Her name is Hope. 6 months later, Sarah sat on the porch nursing her daughter. Jack worked in the garden they'd planted, together. Vegetables for winter, roots taking hold in borrowed ground. A letter arrived that morning, news from Denver. Doyle's killer had been executed for Dr. McKenna's murder. The circle closed, justice complete. Sarah read the letter twice. Then she looked at her wedding ring. Elizabeth McKenna's ring. The dead woman's gold she'd worn to survive. Jack glanced, up from his tomatoes, saw her studying the ring. Understanding passed between them like light through glass. Sarah stood, walked to the edge of the garden. Jack straightened, dirt on his hands, love in his eyes. She twisted the ring from her finger, too loose, always too loose, never truly hers to wear. The ring fell into the soil between rows of vegetables. Gold disappeared into earth that would feed them through the coming winter. Some seeds only grow in borrowed ground, and that is all to the story, for now. Please let me know where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will create a story there. Consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. And if you enjoy our content, click this video on your screen. I promise you it's worth watching. See you tomorrow.